Hello everybody! Recently, I posted a jiggly eye video on Twitter, and people seem to like it a lot. So, I thought I could show you how I did it. I found out from Kana Fuyuko's video, this one, that you can use Warudo to add pendulum physics to things. So, I wanted to try that myself. I was kind of unsure how I wanted to do it, but I knew I wanted it to have a live 2D feeling, but in 3D. I studied some videos of live 2D riggers setting up the eyes to know what they actually use, like in settings and just how they set things up in general. The one from Brie at Cookie Box, rigging Fua's eyes, was really helpful, since Fua has big eyes and I also have big eyes. From that, I gathered that you can get a long way with just good old squash and stretch animations. I jumped into my blender and started making blend shapes based on this information. More blend shapes equals more options in Warudo, so I just made a bunch. Ever since I started making my 3D model, I knew that I wanted to animate the eyes somehow, so I made the eyes with this in mind, separating the highlights, the iris, and the pupil into separate meshes, so that I could animate them later. My eyes have like 7 parts each, so 14 parts in total. Since I made the eyes with eye animations in mind, I made sure that the eyes had enough mesh on them to be able to deform them if I wanted to. I named all the blend shapes according to what part of the eye it is to easily find them in Warudo. Don't name them the same on each eye though, make sure to name them like L or R based on left or right eye, or else they will register as the same in Warudo, and that's probably not what you want. Unless it is what you want. You go ahead, you do you. When you're happy with all the blend shapes, you can export your model and start setting things up in Warudo. If you need any help with Warudo specific things, I suggest going to Kana Fuyuko's channel. She has a lot of videos on Warudo stuff and they're very thorough, so I really recommend them. In Warudo, you can upload your character model and choose Setup Motion Capture. This gives you several options for tracking your face. In my case, I use iFacial mocap because I have ARKit blend shapes. That's why my face is very expressive. It should work with the others too, as long as you have something that tracks your blinking and a blinking blend shape that you can connect things to. Once you have all that in place, you can go into the iFacial mocap receiver that you got from the setup and go to the pendulum physics part. There will already be stuff set up here from before. You can leave that if you want. It makes the model feel more alive in my opinion. In order to add the eye jiggles, you need to make a new element under pendulum physics settings. It will copy the bottom one, so since I set up the left from before, I could just copy that one and make that the right one. So this is basically the area where you can get creative with the animations. The sky is the limit here. Since I made a lot of blend shapes, I had a lot of options I could do, which was very nice. I decided to separate the iris jiggle and the highlight jiggle to not make them as uniform. On the iris, I used good old squash and stretch, but since I also separated the pupil, I could get an extra cool effect by making that bigger when blinking and squinting. I also made a deformed blend shape, which ended up giving a really cool effect. The highlights were just me experimenting with all the blend shapes that I made to get something that I felt was decent looking. Trying to place them different from each other, scaling them, making the star rotate a little for a cool little detail, stuff like that. So I tried to keep them moving, not uniform, more like separate from each other, but still like in the same kind of motion. So that was the idea. When you have something you're happy with, you can save the data into a pendulum physics profile. If you need to reset the tracking, you can easily load the settings back in without having to redo it all. And that's basically it. If you want to, you can slow things down, slow the video down, and look specifically on what I did in Blender and what I did in Warudo to fine-tune the settings, take inspiration, do that. But in the end, it is very based on personal preference. For me, I wanted something subtle. I might change that later if I want a more like a big jiggle effect on my eyes, because right now it's very like whenever I blink, it's very calm. It's a very small effect. but I didn't want it to take over my eyes. I just wanted it to be like a small thing. So I hope you thought this was helpful, and I'm hoping to see more jiggly eyes. I think Warudo is really cool, and I think the pendulum settings can be used for much more than just eyes. So I'm really excited to see what people do with it. Yeah. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye. Bye.